psychiatrists specifically, they're just kind of working as sales agents for the pharmaceutical companies.
There's nothing like another doctor touting the benefits of your drug to drive market share.
They're an extended part of the marketing arm of these companies.
Medications play a primary role.
We give drugs.
Medication is a must.
There's a lot of new medications.
There are medications available for treating GAD.
Medications to use for PTSD.
Antipsychotic medications.
Atypical antipsychotics.
Benzodiazepines.
Stimulants.
Antidepressant medications.
MAOIs. Amphetamines.
Anticonvulsant medications.
Once the medications have been balanced out,
then we move on to a combination of 3 medicines. There's no absolute limit that is set for the number of medications.
There are so many choices.
Apparently, we're willing to try almost anything.
精神医薬は処方箋がなければ販売できません。そこで製薬会社は精神科医たちを雇い、精神医薬を仲間の処方者たちに宣伝しています。金の流れは世界有数の名門医学校、影響力の大きな大学に拠点を置く大学系の精神科医のオフィスから始まります。彼らのお墨付きを得て、製薬会社は精神医薬で巨額の売り上げを得ます。
There are a lot of academic psychiatrists especially who have ties to 10 or 15 or 20 different pharmaceutical companies, and so they're making a very large amount of money.
Whether they're professors or whether they work at big, medical institutions, those drug companies will make sure that they've got them on the payroll somehow.
They'll have this person feed this information to their other peers, but it's all being motivated through monies being funded by pharmaceutical companies.
About 40% of the early stage marketing dollars for pharmaceutical companies go straight to these thought leaders, psychiatrists.
いわゆる主要なオピニオンリーダーとのこうした支払い協定には莫大な金が使われています。巧妙な大学系の精神科医であれば、複数の製薬会社から個人的に年間50万ドルを受け取ることができるのです。
These people are still considered the stars of their medical centers because they bring in all this great money from the pharmaceutical companies, and that helps keep the coffers of the medical center full.
Universities receive a lot of money from the pharmaceutical industry. Drug companies are building buildings right next to the medical school. They're funding research right and left.
The University of Michigan Depression Center received, I think it was $750,000 from Eli Lilly, and all they do down there is crank out this biological view of psychiatry and mental illness and depression.
大学系の精神科医が自分の大学のために巨額の医薬品マネーを集めているのですから、学校のカリキュラムで抗精神薬に重点が置かれるのも不思議ではありません。
Training programs in psychiatry, the majority of them now are drugs first. You're really a psychopharmacologist in a way when you come out of a psych residency training program.
Even when I went to medical school, psychiatrists did talk to patients. Now all they do is write a prescription and send them away.
A psychiatrist is trained for one purpose, to administer psychiatric drugs.
大学系の精神科医には将来の処方者を徹底的に仕込むだけではなく、自分の同業者にもこうした薬品を強力に宣伝する者もいます。まず彼らは公平な調査として通っている臨床試験研究を作り上げ、でっち上げの精神障害とそれを管理するという薬品の両方を推します。こうした研究は専門誌に掲載され、同業者たちに読まれ、メディアで取り上げられます。しかし読者は知りませんが、こうした研究の約半数において、これらの精神科医たちは研究に参加していなかったのです。
One of the most unethical practices we're aware of is ghostwriting of journal articles, where somebody at the pharmaceutical company will write the paper, and the academic physician will put his name on it and get it published in a major journal when he maybe changed 3 or 4 words in the whole article, and the article was basically written as a marketing tool by the drug company, and yet this academic puts his name on it as if he's the author.
He has had no part in the study, and also he probably hasn't even read the study results, but he is prepared to receive $10,000, $20,000 to put his name at the front of the research, which gives it added authority.
ゴーストライターは日常茶飯事です。 FDA で精神薬の安全性を評価する部門を受け持っている精神科医でさえ、ゴーストライターによる論文に自分の名前を付けていました。
The average physician picks that up and reads it. He believes it. And it's not a mystery that he would believe it. It seems reasonable that it's in black and white, it's in a good journal, it's in the New England Journal of Medicine, it must be true.
多くの場合これらの専門誌は正当な医学研究という見せかけのもとに精神科医や医師に無料で送られます。なぜ無料なのでしょう。医薬品の広告が出版元に巨額の収入をもたらすからです。
So if you go through a medical journal, you'll see page after page of advertising for bipolar disorder and treatment of using medications, or advertisings for depression and treatment of using medications, schizophrenia. So it's really everywhere.
I remember just a couple of years ago, the first time I opened the journal from the American Psychological Association called the APA Monitor, and there was a multi-page ad, high gloss, very expensive, for Concerta, which is time-release Ritalin. I resigned from the American Psychological Association. I wasn't going to be part of this whatsoever.
It's very hard when your major source of income is advertising and advertising placement to write an article that's negative about a particular drug and expect that company to continue to buy ads in your medical journal. So that's a major issue.
しかし、精神医学界の主要なオピニオンリーダーたちは医学雑誌をゴーストライターの論文で埋めるだけでは満足しません。彼らは医学障害教育の会合においても抗精神薬の福音を広めています。
Physicians and nurse practitioners and physicians assistants are mandated to take a certain amount of continuing education credits every year. Well, 70% of all continuing medical education is now funded by the pharmaceutical industry.
That seminar is going to be taught by a professional who is employed by the pharmaceutical company. The very nature of where someone is giving you your support means you are biased to that person's side.
Many physicians and many psychiatrists who attend medical conferences don't know that when they go to that conference meeting that's about antidepressants, antipsychotics, and it's generally an academic psychiatrist who's speaking, they don't realize that person's probably making about $10,000 for that 1-hour speech.
しかし、パイの分け前を得るために大学系の精神科医になる必要はありません。抗精神薬を大量に処方する精神科医たちは地域での事業拡大を目論む製薬会社のセールスマンからたっぷりと報酬を得ています。
Psychiatrists, especially high prescribers, are targeted and gifted extensively by the industry. Now that gifting is where you need to get specific.
That was not unusual during our marketing conversations to say, well, what's our top drug writer? You know, who's the doctor that's prescribing the most of this drug? Well, you know, let's send them to the Kentucky Derby.
We offered trips on some occasions to come out and hear a 2-hour talk, but it happened to be on a nice island in Hawaii.
There were a lot of things that we did day in and day out to try to get the doctors to write our drugs, or in my case, to write for the psychiatric drugs. We did a lot of lunches and dinners, and we brought in speakers, and those speakers were obviously paid by us, and we would wave, renowned studies at them from renowned journals. But of course, we would never say that these studies were paid for by our company, and that it was written by a ghostwriter who was paid by our company, or that our company tends to do a ton of advertising within that particular medical journal. We would never say that.
毎年3億件以上の精神医薬の処方箋が書かれており、大量処方する精神科医たちは新たな市場を開拓した報酬を豊富に得ています。彼らは他の医療専門家よりも最大 25% も多く医薬品マネーを受け取っています。ある州ではトップの精神科医1人につき平均で年間$45,000を超えています。
Psychiatrists get more kickback from the pharmaceutical companies than any other branch of medicine.
The profession of psychiatry couldn't keep its journals afloat, couldn't keep its conferences afloat, couldn't keep its organizations afloat without money from drug companies. The drug companies really have psychiatry in their pocket.
This is a profession whose diagnoses have been heavily influenced by people who are heavily influenced by the pharmaceutical industry, and whose treatments are almost exclusively these days pharmaceuticals. We should be able to count on them. I do not believe that we can.
精神科医たちによる絶え間ない宣伝により抗精神薬の処方は精神医療だけでなく医療従事者全体にまで浸透しています。 かしこの宣伝キャンペーンには他ならぬ精神科医たちの私腹を肥やすための2つ目の狙いがあります。そしてその直接のターゲットはあなたなのです。